apparently there's some kind of bomb cyclone going on.
Oh yeah, heard that. So I brought this car.
Oh, that's cute. Bomb cyclone? You guys know anything about that? That looks gnarly. Anyways, what's up guys? Welcome to another beautiful sunny New Mexico day. I can't see right now, so I'm going to change camera angle real quick. Alright, so today we are going to be talking about the S10 and the S10 Plus. Haha. So this is actually Brittany's phone. I got it for her, but I'm going to be using it obviously for the review. So this review is going to be a photographer's look at the camera capabilities of the S10 Plus. I am not, I repeat, not going to talk about video right now. I have quite a few videos about the video coming up, so I know a lot of you have asked me about that, but today is going to be all stills. So I'm also going to be comparing it to this guy, which is my Galaxy S9 Plus, and we're going to talk about some of the advantages that the S10 has. So let's just jump right in. First advantage, obviously, is the new super wide, the new ultra wide. I think they said it's like 123 degrees, like that. That's a big difference. I'm very, very excited about that. I love the ability to have that wide angle there. And then we've got the same telephoto lens that's on this guy and the same regular lens that's on this guy. So we've got the, I think it's 26 millimeter, and the main camera lenses on this and the S9 Plus both have the variable aperture, the f1.5 and the f2.4, which big fan of, really glad they included that. And then the telephoto lenses are both the same. I think they're 52 millimeter. So if you guys follow my channel, then you know how much I love telephoto lenses in all aspects. So I'm definitely glad that they included that. So let's talk about a downside real quick. The downside to the super wide and the telephoto lens is that they are not available in pro mode. So another downside to the variable apertures is you can't change those in auto mode. As far as I know, that is only in pro mode. So it will do it for you automatically, I believe, if it gets dark enough. I think that's one of the settings that it will change, but you don't have control over that in auto mode. And then another downside to the auto mode and the telephoto lens on here is that not being able to use in pro mode, but also if you're in auto mode and it doesn't have enough light, whatever it determines is enough light, then it will not use the telephoto. It will actually crop into the main lens on the sensor, and then to give you that telephoto 2x reach. So that's a bummer, trying to figure out if you're actually getting your telephoto even in auto. In conditions like this, you're most likely going to get the telephoto if you switch it in auto mode. So let's talk about settings real quick. All of the settings are still there for that was on the S9 Plus, and that is the live focus, the hyperlapse, the panorama, the all of that stuff, the food mode, they're all still there. The hyperlapse, as a time-lapse photographer, I was kind of bummed that they don't have any more control. It's still all auto. The settings are either auto or up to 32x speed, so 32 times speed. There's no ability to control anything other than that in the hyperlapse, so that's kind of a bummer, but I realize probably most people don't care about that as much as I do. There's a new addition to an Instagram photo mode, and that's apparently to go straight to Instagram. I would never want to do that though, because I like to edit my photos, and I don't know, that's just a little bit silly to me, but may not be to you. So one of the things that you guys have asked me, and that I've seen a lot of questions asked, is we're gonna go over how the HDR is, how it compares to the S9 Plus, and see if the HDR has gotten any better. And then skin tones, you guys have asked me about skin tones, so we're going to take a look at that. And then the last thing that you guys have asked me about is the live focus. Has it improved with the background blurring at all? So for now, why don't we go walk around. I'm going to show you guys around our quaint little town of Silver City, New Mexico, and take a few shots with this and see. We'll check out all three of the lenses and check out some of that stuff that I mentioned, and we'll see what's up. All right, so we're done downtown. We are no longer downtown. We are above downtown. Over there. So after playing with this phone, let's talk about some of these images. The first thing that I want to mention, that I mentioned before, that I absolutely love, is this wide angle. I love the wide angle lens. It just opens up the mobile photography potentials so much more. Being able to get that unique perspective and that wider perspective, especially for stuff like this, I love it. You got to watch out for that distortion though. With any wide angle, this is like a super wide angle. You got to watch out for that distortion. So especially if you got someone in the frame in that wide angle, like it can really stretch you out and make it look a little wonky. So just keep that in mind when you're shooting wide angle, that straight lines and people's faces and that kind of stuff, especially towards the edges, are going to get distorted. But that's nothing against the camera or the lens, that's just physics. So just keep that in mind. So the telephoto, like I said before, again, you guys know me, you know my channel. I love telephoto lenses. I love long lenses. And this lens is pretty cool too. I don't see any difference between this and the S9 Plus, but I do love it. I love the option. I love being able to get close to stuff. So shooting flowers and stuff like that, it's really fun. I really like that a lot. I think though that pretty much the main reason why Samsung put the telephoto lens on here is really for their live focus. You know, that's the biggest pro to having the telephoto, is being able to do the live focus. And it's nice for landscapes like this if I can zoom in a little bit, you know, but out here and stuff like this, it's not going to make that huge of a difference to zoom in. But it's nice that it's there. The downside again is that I don't know when it's using it or not, and if it's low light or if it's dark or whatever, it's not going to do it. It's just going to crop into that main camera sensor. And that's a huge bummer, that you can't force it to use the telephoto and that you can't use the telephoto in Pro. To me, that is a big, big deal. And that is a really big bummer. And from the comments that I've done on other videos with the S9, I know that you guys think the same thing. A lot of you do. So that's definitely a drawback, not having the telephoto and not having the wide angle. That's another huge drawback for me, not having the wide angle option in Pro mode. Like, that just kills it. As a photographer, as someone who wants to take their photos seriously, you would really want that option of wide angle in Pro mode. So that's a big, big drawback for me. But I will say the auto settings on this are definitely getting better, and they're looking really good, especially with color rendition. You know, downtown Silver City's got a lot of color. It's got a lot of dynamic range in the shadows and the colors and the brightness and everything. So let's talk about HDR. In just the limited time that I've been playing with this, I don't see a super noticeable improvement in the HDR over the S9 Plus. I don't see much of a difference with it turned off either. But this is only one situation. And I will say, in defense of photography and stuff like that, in defense of the camera, it does matter how you meter and where you're clicking, whether and where you're clicking for your exposure in auto mode, whether the HDR is on or off. That is what's going to make the biggest difference in your exposure. So comparing the HDR on and off, and also comparing HDR to the S9 Plus, which is so similar. It's a similar sensor. It might even be the same sensor with the same lens. It's really going to come down to like how you're autofocusing. So if someone says like, oh, this is way better or way worse or whatever, like doing one test is not going to do that. And I only did one test. And again, it matters where you meter. Especially with these things, HDR, dynamic range, is not going to be great. It's not going to be anything compared to, you know, something like this, the 5D Mark IV, or, you know, a real camera. So don't get your hopes up there. Know your phone's limits. That being said though, I usually keep the HDR on my phone turned on in auto mode. It does help a bit, and it does add a bit of saturation and punch and all that, and balance out the ambient light. So I usually just keep it on in auto mode. I would recommend, I don't think by default it's turned on. It hasn't been in previous Galaxies. So if that's something that you're into and you want all the help you can get with your camera and auto, then go into settings and turn that, and make sure it's turned on and not set to auto. Make sure it's turned on. So skin tones. So I think the skin tones look very similar to the S9 Plus and even the S8. I'm not seeing too much of a difference. But again, this is going to come down to, is your HDR on, and how you're metering and your exposure and all that stuff. Your white balance is super important, because if it's in auto, the white balance is always going to shift depending on what colors people are wearing, what colors are in the background. But I have noticed that Samsung is decently consistent with keeping the skin tones a little bit on the warmer side. But just keep that in mind too, that your skin tones and your overall white balance is going to be affected by the colors around which you are shooting. So if someone is wearing wonky greens, or if you're in like a green room or an orange room or very blue room, or it's dark outside, all of that is going to affect how the colors look in your image. All right, so let's talk about live focus. So I think that's one of the best things that the Samsung phones have going for them. And I think that there is an overall improvement over the S9 Plus. I think that the background blur the algorithm is a little bit better, and I think it does a little bit better of a job at transitioning from whatever's in focus to whatever's not. But there's not a huge improvement. There's still, in the selfie mode, you have the ability to control the live focus now, which you didn't in the S9 Plus. And you have the ability to control the blur. So like here on the S9 image, it struggled a lot. I struggled to get the image, to get it in focus, especially in lower light. And I found myself not struggling as much with the S10, either in the selfie mode or in the regular live focus mode. I also found that the S10 is a little bit wider just for the regular live focus mode. It's a little bit wider field of view, so that's kind of nice. I kind of like that actually. So another thing that the 10 has going for it in the live focus is it has a lot more options. Some of them are kind of gimmicky, but some of them are kind of nice. It has the ability to switch the blur from a regular blur to a swirly blur to a zoomy blur, and also to do things like black and white and then keep you in color, or keep whatever subject you have in color. That's kind of cool. So yeah, I definitely think there's an improvement overall in the live focus, and I'm happy to see that. And again, I think that's the biggest plus of having the telephoto lens, is being able to get that live focus and really get that blurred out, nice looking background. So another thing with the selfie mode that we discovered is that there's an option for a closer and a wider selfie, and that's kind of nice. And I think that may have to do with the two lenses on the front of this versus my S9 Plus didn't have that. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with the front, but I know that we could get both of our faces in here easier and then switch it to that wider mode for the dual thing. And that makes it nice when you're doing more than just you selfie. So if you got your significant other or friend or whatever, that's nice. I will say that it did struggle a bit. We had to, there were a couple times where we had to take multiple images and kind of move our heads around to get the selfie focusing thing to focus on both of our faces and still blur the background out with the live focus in selfie mode. So it definitely struggles there, but overall there's definitely a selfie improvement too in the quality of the front camera and with what you can do with it. All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up. It's getting close to dinner time and it's getting colder out here now that the sun is going bye-bye. So overall, I think the camera is definitely improved over the S9 Plus, especially with the addition of the wide angle. Like I mentioned, there are definitely some downsides. I will go into those more in detail and how we're going to get around those and what I think. So some other videos that we have coming up, we're going to do a low light test. We're going to do a pro mode video specifically on pro mode and how to use it and what's going on with it and how to get the most out of it. We are going to do a Pixel 3 versus S10 shootout, especially for the live focus and the nighttime stuff. You guys have been asking me to do a stars video on how to photograph the stars with the S10. I don't know if I want to do that though, because I did it with the S9 Plus and those were like my most hated videos ever. So if you guys do want to see that, leave those in the comments below and let me know, and I will still do one because I don't mind getting the hate anymore. It's YouTube. So that's what we have planned coming up for the S10, or if you're watching this in the future, then check those videos out if they're already up. If you guys have any questions on anything that you want to see or any other parts of the camera that you want reviewed, leave those in the comments below and we'll definitely see if we can make something happen. So I'm going to leave you guys with the edited version. So far everything that I've showed you has been straight out of the camera. I've done nothing to any of the images so that you guys could see what it's looking like from the raw autos. But I'm going to leave you guys with the edited versions of some of the images that I took today so that you can see what I got out of them. All right, so definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've got new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Hit that like button if this video helped you out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.